and welcome to another video by the Happy Woodworker. I got a really good question today from one of my viewers, so I'll give a shout out to Mike for asking this question. I did a product review a while back on a Kobalt router table, and this particular table has the ability to function as a jointer. And his question was, how do you operate this particular router table as a jointer? Well, I thought I would start off just by a quick explanation on how a jointer works. So you have on a jointer two tables. I'm going to deliberately make this one a little lower. And you have a router bit that sits in the middle. Well, on a jointer it's not a router bit, but your bit, which has generally a couple of teeth, some of them might have three, sets and spins in the middle. This is your in-feed side. This is the out-feed side. So, and you'll also have a fence in the back, sets like this. So this is the basic design of any jointer that you're going to see. It's going to have a table, and so there's my 3D drawing for the day. There's your table there, there's your table here, and as I slide my board in with this front surface here, this is going to set level with your bit, and this surface sets just slightly below. Now this is a big exaggeration, right? Because the most you're ever going to probably edge joint on something is 1/8 of an inch would be extreme. So maybe a 1/16 or a 32nd at a time. And as I have my board and I run my board through, I'm going to simplify this back again just to the bit and the front surface. Just pretend you're looking straight at your jointer. So as I have my board, we'll say this is my board that I've got flush. My bit is going to take off this little edge right here. So as I'm coming through with this, once I get the board over to here, I've taken off that amount, and now my board, as my bit is turning, is chewing out all of this, and I've got it nice, flat, and flush against this table. So that's how an edge joiner works, by holding it against the fence in the background. The fence, if I'm looking at my joiner long ways, I have a fence that sets like this, I have tables that set like this, and my board is going to come through. We'll say this is my board that I'm jointing, sets against my fence, and as you're bringing it through towards us, it's setting flat against these tables. It gives me a perfect 90-degree edge. How does this apply to a router? That was an awesome question. Well, a router is virtually the same exact thing. And what you have to understand is that instead of where a jointer has a long, flat table where it has two that are adjustable, on a router, if I was to take that and turn it sideways, you're looking at the same exact thing if I'm looking down at the top of my router. So by being able to adjust one of these fences and having a straight bit in here, I'm accomplishing the same exact thing. The difference instead of having adjustable tables, what I have are two adjustable fences. So this is the common setup that you'll see on a router table. You have fence 1, fence 2, and I realize I didn't draw them even, and then you have your table sets out. So much for 3D drawing today. So where on a jointer the table is adjustable and your bit runs long ways across the table, and here what we have is a bit sets here, and I have adjustable fences. So by doing the same thing, by pulling this fence out, what I'm doing is creating a surface that's further back. I've got this table set flush to this bit, and then by pushing this through, I'm able to maintain even pressure without tilting my board. That's the big thing for a jointer, right? That's why you want the tables to be adjustable around the router, the fences. That way you get a uniform cut that's 90 degrees to your table. You have a 90-degree edge, and as you're pushing it through, I've got even pressure because these fences are adjusted. This fence is accommodating for how much material my blade is taking out. And this could be looking down on top of your jointer, or this could be looking at your router table as it would just sit. It's the same exact thing, it's just a different setup. One bit sticks up, one bit is flat. But it's adjustable. If you're at a jointer, our bit would sit right in here. There would be our cutting bit. So the board would come through, it would get cut, and then it's got a nice flat surface that's even with that bit to slide across, and I get a nice 90-degree board. On my router table, this is my bit. I start here on the end feed side, I come through, I cut it out, and I still have a table that's now even with my bit. It's the same exact thing. It's just different orientation. So on the product review that I did, which was for a Cobalt router table, it has an adjustable fence. So let me pull out that router table, and I will come right back and show you how that works on the actual router. So I've pulled out the router table, and bear with me, you're going to have to pull off the accessories, right? Because you need these fences open and available. This is also going to have to come out of the way. And this is going to have to come out of the way. Let me find a place to put these where I'm not going to lose them. Find my parts box. So on a router, I have a fixed table and adjustable fences. Well, this fence isn't adjustable in and out, but it does slide left or right. The left or right function really isn't important for this, other than the fact you want to have this, you know, somewhat close to your bit for support, but not close enough to come in contact with anything. On this side, though, this one's different. I can take this and I can pull it way out. I can actually stick my finger almost in behind here. And now, not that you would ever try and joint something for this kind of depth, right? But if I take a square edge and I set this, I can line my fence up once I have it loose enough. That would be flush with my bit on both sides. Well, that's not going to accomplish anything, is it? But if I have that flush with both sides, and for clarity I'll set it to 0 on each side here, but let's say that I wanted to edge joint something just a 32nd of an inch. If I pull this out a 32nd of an inch, and it's going to have to be an exact measurement on each side, that's the tricky part to this. Because if it's skewed at an angle like this, I'm exaggerating of course, then I'm not going to have any support here and it's not going to cut right, right? But I can push this back a little bit. I can set this to the depth that I want. We'll say that's a 32nd of an inch. It's not, because I'm not measuring, but now, when I flush this up, I'm going to bring the camera over and give you guys a better view. Now, just for reference, also note that I don't have a straight bit in here, but I have something similar. I've got a rabbiting bit that I was using in my last video. So, I've exaggerated this, obviously, but if I start adjusting, and I bring my fence up, I wonder if I can turn that sideways a little. I don't know, you wouldn't be able to see. Right there's contact with my bit, and I'm straight against this, but look, I've got a gap in here. So, as I'm running a board through, let's say I wanted to edge joint this little board. as I'm running this through, I'm going to contact that bit. It's going to start taking out my 1/8 or 32nd of an inch or whatever I've got this set to. And as I come over, then I'm going to be flush against both fences, because this section is going to have been cut away at the exact depth of my bit, which is the same thing a jointer does. So I'm flat here, I tear into it, and then I just, obviously I'm not on and not turning, so it's not going to do it, but I can just keep going right on through. And because my table and my bit are at 90 degrees to my fence, I get a perfect uniform 90-degree cut down the length of whatever I'm jointing. That's how you edge joint on a router. So your next question might be, well, what if my router does not have an adjustable fence on this side to do this? In that case, there are a couple of other options that you can do. There's a couple other options you have. And again, I'm going to exaggerate because I don't have something cut for this, but let's say this fence doesn't move. I need to edge joint something. I've got a router table that I want to use. How do I do it? Well, let's pretend that this is, say an 1/8 of an inch thick. That's the thickest that I can ever imagine you ever wanting to edge joint something. If you've got a little piece of veneer, something that's uniform, a piece of something very thin, you could take it, attach it to this fence, then you can square against your bit. Again, obviously, this is an exaggeration, but now as I bring my board through, it's going to cut away and it's going to continue right on through, flush on both fences, and I'm going to have a perfect 90-degree cut. How would you secure this? Well, you could use some kind of tape. What I'm actually thinking of is eluding me at the moment, the word for it. A laminate. That's the word I'm looking for, a laminate. You can get sheets of laminate. You could cut one of those, stick that onto your router, and then you've got the same exact setup. The difference is where if you have a router that doesn't have an adjustable fence on this side, you're limited to the thickness of whatever you're attaching on here for the depth of your cut to do edge routing, or edge jointing, I should say. So that's how you do edge jointing on a router, and that's how it would work on this particular table. And again, just for example for you guys, I will show you that this table, see how I can move this? It's got double screws back here on this side, so this can come way out and then lock down. Again, you would never ever have to use something this thick. If you're edge jointing, you're just taking off little tiny amounts. But that's how that would work. And I said in the review that I think this particular table, that this plastic feels a little flimsy to me to do edge jointing. I still kind of agree with that, and I never have gotten around to taking this apart. Because I've been kind of thinking that maybe I want to create my own little fence and insert into here. Something that's a little more sturdy than this plastic, because I do think I get a little bit of flex in it. And if you're edge jointing, you really want to have something that's completely sturdy. But I really haven't done a whole lot of jointing on this. I haven't had the need. So, it is what it is. And I will give you guys one more last tip. What do you do if you don't have an edge jointer and you don't have a straight bit or a router table to do edge jointing? Well, there is an alternative way to do that, and it doesn't even require power tools. So let me zoom the camera out here. What you would do, let's say I have two boards. I need two boards around here. I got one board there, and I've got an old piece of scrap pine here. You would set these two boards flush together, okay? Put them down in your bench vise with opposite faces. This is a front face, this is a front face. Run a hand plane over them a couple of times till you get what you're looking for. When I take them out, I put them together. It doesn't matter if they're 90 degrees to each other. It doesn't matter if I've got one side that's 15 degrees off this way and this side 15 degrees. They'll mirror each other. And they will mate perfectly. So that's another way that you can do edge jointing without power tools. Just for fun, let's see if I can take a go at that for you. Once I get this stuff out of the way. I think I've got a plane around here somewhere. I don't know what this is set to for a depth of cut. I think I'm going against the grain on that piece of oak, so this may not work very well. Let's just try that. That's a couple of passes. When I loosen this up, I bring these back together, eventually, I didn't do quite enough to it, but I will eventually have a perfect mated edge between those two boards. But it will take some time. So that's how you can joint two boards together using nothing but a hand plane. So I hope that was able to answer some questions for you. As always, to all my viewers, if you have questions, ask, and I'll do my best to answer them. Sometimes, like today, you'll even catch me home and around the computer when you ask. Thanks for watching, everyone. Happy woodworking.